So, ladies and gentlemen, if you for any moment are wondering what's coming next, well, this tsunami is coming next. Ladies and gentlemen, he is a distinguished mobile visionary and an innovator. He is a maverick of our generation. He is also known as the father of the ringtone, with a keen interest in social media apps, platforms, and global innovation. He's always curious about what's coming next. So, ladies and gentlemen, to hear about what our mobile technology can do for us in the future, brainstorm with us for what lies ahead in the future of mobile technology and mobile advertising of the world, give you ideas of the past and give you ideas for the future. Please welcome the Chairman and CEO, Mobilium Global Group, London, Mr. Polka Dot Red Sox, Mr. Ralph Simon. Welcome, sir. A huge round of applause, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. आप कैसे हैं? Namaskaram. Ningalke elavarkum sukamano. Ate sediano. Very good. It's wonderful to be here in Kochi and especially in Kerala. And I must tell you, one of the things that I discovered here in Kerala, the women in Kerala, oh my God. Kerala tile penkutikal sundarikal ane. Oh my God. They are amazing. How does that work? Very interesting. Okay, we got the slide up. Okay, well, I must just tell you, ladies and gentlemen, when I was coming in here today, someone said to me, "You are the man from the BJP." I said, "Me from the BJP? Why is that?" They said, "Because you're dressed in these colors, the colors of the BJP." I said, No, you don't understand. I'm not necessarily with the BJP, but I love the campaign that took the color and made a successful campaign made by advertising professionals that made an election campaign that was successful. But the truth is, the reason I wear these colors is because my mother said to me, "One day you must become a sadhu." And I said to her, "To become a sadhu, I must go to Rishikesh." She says, "Well, you live in London, but if you become a sadhu, that's very important." I said, "Mom, I can never become a sadhu. I can't be like the Swami that was here before us on the stage this morning. I want to become a digital sadhu." And I would say to you that the same thing applies with yourselves. We've got to think about being a digital sadhu and a mobile sadhu, because if you can become the Badshah of mobile advertising, your future in this business is going to be very, very good. Okay, so I'm going to take you through some interesting things that I find. I spend my life on a relentless search looking for the best new interesting things in mobile that are impacting all over the world. And for me, India is the most important country in the world, not only for mobile, but for mobile creativity. And the reason for that is, of course, India has nearly 1 billion mobile subscribers, but incredible companies like Hungama that really pioneered a whole new way of bringing Bollywood to mobile and bringing incredible digital advertising to mobile, that acted as one of my main stimulus for developing a career in this space. And I thought I'd just put into perspective some interesting facts that I think would be worth noting. Everybody knows that Apple is a very successful company, but you know, I was just looking at some figures. In the last financial period, Apple had sold iPhones to the value of $102 billion, $102 billion, which is more than the combined income of Google, Facebook, and Twitter. Google, Facebook, and Twitter's annual revenues were less than what Apple made on the iPhone. And just to give you some kind of idea why this is important, let's take another important sector in advertising, and that is the premium motor car business. If you think of the premium motor car business, let's take models like BMW, Audi, Lexus. Collectively, worldwide, their gross income is $220 billion. And it's just been reported this morning, I'm just looking at my figures here, that Apple did $146 billion just on sales of iPhones and iPhone apps. Now, what does that tell you? That tells you that mobile, not just the iPhone, because if you look here in India, Micromax, or you look at Xiaomi in China, or you look at Samsung, all of the big device manufacturers, everything in the future, if you look in the future, everything is going to relate to what I call the interests of screenagers. Who of you here in this audience is a screenager? What? 3 people? That's ridiculous. How many of you look at your phone, your tablet, your PC, your TV screen? Right, so we are all screenagers. So now when you see your friends and they ask you, what did you do in Kochi? You say, you went to a festival for screenagers. That's what you did. We are all screenagers. Okay, let's get the show on the road. And let's look at some creative thinking and ideas for campaign architecture, because we are screenager architects trying to find ways in which we can create really cool ideas for campaigns from the global and the mobile world. And let's have a look at some of them. What I've decided to ask you is if you will allow me to tickle your creative imaginations, because I've got some interesting things I'd like to show you. So, are you ready for the journey? Yeah. Okay, very good. So first of all, I thought I'd show you, where are we? Yes, here we are. So here's a picture. Now, can you just imagine if Sachin Tendulkar had to decide one morning that he wanted to become a woman? Highly unlikely. He's an incredible cricketer. Now he's got a property that he's just bought here in Kerala. He's building a big house in Kerala. But that lady there is actually a man. Well, he was until 4 months ago. He is the stepfather of Kim Kardashian. He was an Olympic athlete for the United States. His name was, until 3 months ago, Bruce Jenner. He decided he wanted to become a woman. And the reason I'm showing this to you as a slide and why this is important for mobile is that in June, he changed his name to Caitlyn Jenner, and he got more than 1 million Twitter followers in 4 hours. 1 million in 4 hours, just imagine that, and that's just in the United States. But the reason I tell you this is because Vanity Fair is an important magazine, but this is the kind of mass and mass volume you get if all of a sudden the national interest gets into this space and gets into this area. Like, for example, when Sachin did so well in the cricket tests, the whole country was behind it. This is the kind of phenomenon that speeds up stuff on mobile. Okay, let's go to the next one. I'm always interested in billboard advertising and what you can do as an interesting form of billboard advertising. So here's something that was just recently installed in London. This is Carlsberg. Carlsberg wanted to have a working billboard with a working beer tap. And what they did was, Carlsberg is a Danish beer from Denmark. And their campaign slogan has always been, probably the best beer in the world. Well, they wanted to have probably the best poster in the world, talking about this interesting thing, and it raised the profile of the brand in an interesting way. Now, here's another example from a billboard, and this actually happened in Berlin. Coca-Cola owns a brand called Powerade. It's kind of like a sports drink. And what they did was they unveiled something called the Workout Billboard. The Workout Billboard in Berlin. It was located in the center of the city, and the beverage brand's 3 billboards, they had 3 of them, and it featured a variety of activities to show off the strength and sporting prowess of people that went up to the billboard to do the exercises. The aim of the billboards was to prove to passers-by that you have more power than you think. So this idea of interactive billboards is something that is growing in popularity, and advertisers around the world are seeing that you do something like this, and you get very, very interesting social media activity coming in the wake of that. So that's quite an interesting idea. Let's go to the next one. Now, here's something from Switzerland. Now, I know this is not yet really a developed science in India, but the whole notion of interactive billboards or interactive display, frame displays, which could be suitable in large shopping malls, like in Mumbai at the Phoenix, which is a big modern shopping mall, or just generally where you can have interactive screens of some kind. Well, there's a small area of Switzerland called Graubünden. Anyone been to Graubünden? Well, listen to this. They unveiled an interactive billboard giving people the chance to win free train tickets to Graubünden in Switzerland. It's like the screens were located in the underground subway of the Zurich train station, and it was connected to a live man in Graubünden via a video link. And if you spoke to the billboard, he greeted you back. He greeted commuters and encouraged them to chat. And those who interacted with the billboard and spoke to this guy were rewarded with free tickets, giving them an afternoon plus a restaurant meal in Graubünden. So can you imagine, next time you're in Switzerland and you see the screen, you know what you're going to do. You're going to go to Graubünden. Okay, let's go to the next one. Here's an interesting one from New York. How many of you have heard of an airline called Jetblue? Okay, so Jetblue is a low-cost airline, but they always try and say that we give you first-class service, but a low-cost carrier. And they set up, now listen, this is interesting, because this is really the future. They set up an interactive hologram, in an empty New York storefront to conduct market research. They asked passers-by from the pavement and told them that a virtual flight attendant was available to help guide people through topics around customer experience and service. It was controlled by a real person, and the hologram allowed each response to be tailored to the needs of the individual customers. And over the course of one weekend, they had almost 3,000 people interacting with the digital screen. With selected participants were given free tickets on the airline. So you think this is far-fetched for India? Well, you know, a couple of years ago, there was a very successful event in California where they created a hologram of Tupac Shakur. How many of you know about Tupac? Big hip-hop star in America. And Tupac did a song. He's dead, actually, Tupac. He hasn't been alive for many years. But they created a hologram of him performing with Snoop Dogg. How many of you have heard of Snoop Dogg? I'm glad that you're fond of dogs. Very, very good. Okay, now this is a fascinating one. This is actually from Barcelona, I beg your pardon, from Peru, just near Lima in Peru. Now, if you look at this incredible picture of the beach, what is this? Well, this is on a beach in Peru called Playa Aguadulce Beach, which is the beach of sweet water. And the Peruvian League Against Cancer, that's the Cancer Protection League of Peru, set up a large blue structure that allowed beachgoers to access free Wi-Fi, but only if they stayed in the shadow of this big blue thing. Before being able to access Wi-Fi, the users were first taken to a landing page where they could read information on skin cancer. So I had an idea. I thought, if ever I go to Peru, I'd like to take Deepika Padukone with me. I don't know why you're laughing. That would be a great thing to do, because I'd go into the shade of this big blue box, I'd lie down on the sand with Deepika, and, you know, I'd get free Wi-Fi, and I could then send a text to my friends saying, hey, I'm here with Deepika. You know what they would say to me? Uttam. But an interesting idea. Who has thought at Chapati Beach in Mumbai, if you did something like that for a brand? Unusual, interesting, in the shadow, but using mobile, using Wi-Fi, an interesting idea. What do you think? Thumbs up or thumbs down? Thumbs up. Interesting idea. Good creativity. Only from the advertising industry would they come up with something like that. Here's something from Mexico. Unusual and interesting. So just a couple of months ago, the Mexican government installed 30 motion-sensitive machines at underground train stations across Mexico City. You know, Mexico City is as big as Mumbai, about 24 million people, and the machines issued a token that can be redeemed for a train ticket to any commuter who completes 10 squats. If you do 10 squats in front of the machine, they also offered pedometers, little pedometers they gave away free to the first 80,000 participants, and the scheme was introduced in response to a problem in Mexico of people being very fat, being obese, because according to a UN report, 32.8% of the Mexican public are obese. So the government decided if you go and stand in front of one of those machines using mobile technology, motion sensor, you do those squats, you give away a free ticket, and the social media that it created around it presented a really interesting opportunity. Here's another interesting way of looking at facial recognition and mobile technologies that are presenting themselves in a really interesting way. And in fact, what this is it's called the Luce X2 Touch TV. It's the world's first vending machine using facial recognition technology. Think of that, a vending machine with facial recognition technology. The device can automatically identify and greet a customer with motion sensors detecting when someone approaches it before playing a personalized video message. Now, just think of an ATM the banks use here in India. If you went to an ATM, they'll recognize you from your card, and it would recognize your facial recognition. The vending machine then shows a customer a menu of products based on their demographic, as well as items that they've ordered in the past, and the touchscreen interface also serves to display nutritional information for available products. So this notion of facial recognition and biometric recognition linked to the recognition of your number, or let's say, for example, if you've given permission for your phone company to keep you advised of certain things, it's another interesting way in a modern city of being able to present an interesting idea. So, I remember when this gentleman said to me, "Are you from the BJP?" And I said to him, "Look, I know that there's a famous phrase, 'Apki bar Modi Sarkar,' right?" And I said, "That's not the phrase I like to use. The phrase I like to use is 'Apki bar Mobile Sarkar,' right?" So let's go to the next one. This was something launched about 3 months ago in the United States. It's called Stefan's Head. And what is Stefan's Head? It's an e-tailer and a fashion brand that operates only by SMS. I don't think there's anything like that in India at the moment, although I must say, just hearing what Ritesh was doing with the Oro Rooms, just an incredible young entrepreneur, amazing. But here, think of this, an e-tailer that only sells by SMS, and in order to be eligible to purchase limited edition clothing from the brand, the customers need to send an SMS to a cell phone number, and then they receive a reply asking for details of their social media accounts in order to be vetted by the company. Those who are deemed worthy, they have a qualification mechanism, receive an SMS with links to purchase limited edition clothing products every few weeks, with the site automatically saving your size and your tastes and your preferences. So, thumbs up or thumbs down for SMS ordering? What do you think? Just a few thumbs up. That doesn't sound as though it's going to be a big hit here in India. Just for those two women over there that obviously want to get new clothes. But think about it. Think about SMS and the way people use SMS in India. It could be that one aspect of the future of advertising, clothing, could be done just by SMS. So, the one thing about mobile that I think is so important is the way that it brings everybody together, and if it's handled correctly, makes prosperity for all, kind of like sabka saath, sabka vikas. You know that phrase? They don't know that phrase, Neeraj. Maybe my Hindi is not so good, my pronunciation is not so good. Okay, so here's an interesting one. You've heard about wearable technology. How many of you have a Fitbit or some kind of technology that measures your personal telemetry? There we are, it's that gentleman, very fit gentleman there. But there's a whole revolution going on with wearable technology. And this is interesting because it's Levi Strauss who make famous Levi jeans. And what they've done is they've got a partnership between Levi Strauss and Google, focusing on creating clothing from fabrics with touch screen capabilities. Clothing fabrics with touch screen capabilities. Now, isn't that interesting? It was announced just a couple of months ago, and the project's aim is to allow wearers to control their cell phone via gestures made on the woven fabric of their clothes. Swipes or taps are mapped to cell phone functionality, allowing wearers to carry out actions such as silencing calls, controlling music, as well as altering cell phone settings and apps. And with the announcement, both companies are committed to manufacturing and commencing the project. In 2016, you will see Levi's coming out that will enable you to Bluetooth that to your phone, and you go like that, or you go like that. You can be controlling your device from your jeans. What do you think of that? Interesting? Not interesting? Thumbs up or thumbs down? Thumbs up. Thumbs up. I can see all the gentlemen here going like this. The women will say, why you keep touching your leg like that? Here's a very interesting one. You know, 3D printing is very important. It's really a very important development in technology. And one of the reasons it's so important is because some of the things that you can make with 3D printing, from large pieces of furniture to specially tailor-made products. And here is one that's particularly good. This is a company called Feetz, F-E-E-T-Z, Feetz. And they raised $1.2 million in seed funding to begin production of custom-printed, 3D printed shoes. Customers use the Feetz mobile app to take 3 photographs of their feet and design the patterns they'd like for their shoes. Feetz takes the measurements from these images and creates a pair of perfectly fitted shoes. Perfect. Made from antimicrobial jelly so that you don't get bacteria in your feet. And then they are shipped directly, mailed directly to the customer's door. And these shoes are usually priced from around $200. But just think about it, you get absolutely perfectly made, custom-made shoes, 3D printed especially for you, done essentially as a mobile app. So let's say you're a shoe manufacturer, or let's say you're in the fashion business, let's say you're Burberry, or let's say you are Raymond. Raymond's a well-known Indian brand. This might be an interesting way that you could develop a whole new array of personal tailoring via the mobile phone. So, what do you think of that one? Thumbs up or thumbs down? Thumbs sort of up. That's only about 60-40, 60 down, 40 up. Okay, let's see if we can find another more interesting one. Now, how many of you have heard of Oculus? How many of you have heard of Oculus Rift? How many of you have heard of virtual reality? Everybody. How many of you know that Mark Zuckerberg of Facebook paid $2 billion for a company that had barely started, had no revenue, but had made a product that he felt was going to be the future, and the product was called Oculus Rift? Well, here's an interesting example. Take a look at this picture, and this is Dior, Christian Dior, the famous French brand. And what they did was they made a custom-made virtual reality headset, that's the Oculus type of headset, taking people behind the scenes at the French luxury brands' runway shows on the catwalk in Paris, or New York, or London. And it's available to try out at selected Dior fashion boutiques. And the headset gives people the chance to see backstage at the label's runway show, watching makeup artists applying cosmetics and wardrobe styling to the models. And from a 360-degree live streamed view, the runway shows to the behind-the-scene films, it's possible to get closer to the luxury brands than ever before. And Dior's branded virtual reality headset takes this one step further. It's created in partnership with Digital LBI Labs using a digital printer, and it encourages existing and potential customers to visit a store and get exclusive access to this technology. Now, those of you who have not yet tried an Oculus experience, it looks big and looks clunky and it's probably not the kind of thing that you'd want to put on every day. But trust me, when you try this Oculus technology, this virtual reality technology, you can put it on, and when you look around like this, you get a 360-degree view. It's an incredible visual experience and something that might add some additional advertising impetus to the branding of the product, to the copy that you've got, and to the advertising that you're making. Now, Oculus Rift, watch this space, because this, over the next 6 to 18 months, is really going to increase a lot. Mark Zuckerberg is a very smart guy. I mean, he paid $19 billion for WhatsApp, and he paid $2 billion to a young guy of 23 who came up with the Oculus technology. So, interesting to watch. Now, here's another example of something that is working well within the fashion industry. And of course, the fashion industry and clothing and the manufacturing of clothing products, certainly in India, manufacturing is very important, and especially with the Prime Minister's move for Make India, very important project. During the London Fashion Week a couple of months ago, a company called Hunter live streamed its runway show across 9 billboards in 6 UK cities. So they streamed it live from London, and the show was also streamed on the British fashion brand's Facebook page and Twitter pages. Hunter then also took over the Wi-Fi landing pages at each of the Wi-Fi-enabled screens in order to drive viewers to their mobile e-commerce site. And after the show, the Hunter ads continue to the screen on the billboards, showing the current products that are available to buy online, as well as footage about that particular fashion experience. So think about it like this. In any major Indian city where there are large billboards and more billboards are becoming electronic, you can have a direct link from some interesting kind of live fashion event that goes direct to the billboard, obviously with a URL that gets you either to tweet or to be able to mail directly to the product. And this is an interesting new way in which billboards get linked to mobile, that get linked to what you want to do about fashion. For that audience of men and women 16 to 30, maybe 16 to 35, this is a cool way of seeing new trends without having to go shopping. Thumbs up or thumbs down? What do you think? What? Thumbs up. Now that looks like it's about 51 to 49. So it's a little thumb up. Okay, very good. Okay, now here's something from China that just took off like crazy. How many of you are familiar with a company called, or a project, an app called My Idol? Not all that well known in India, but this is basically what it is. It's gone viral worldwide. It basically takes an avatar of people, and basically the way it works is it's a free mobile app. It allows users to upload a photo of their face and create a customized avatar. A customized avatar. So let's say, for example, you want to have yourself together with Katrina Kaif. You can create an avatar of Katrina and yourself, and effectively users can tweak the outfits or hairstyles and makeup before inserting their avatar into a variety of virtual scenarios, such as singing or dancing, and people can choose to share their personalized video clips via social media. I think something like this in India could be incredibly successful, because you give someone the ability to be able to use their avatar, their whole image, but tied into clothing, or, you know, let's say, for example, if you are Karan Johar and you want to dress up like a woman, I mean, you never know. I think that, no, he doesn't do that. But the point is that this is just another way in which an interesting mobile app can be used with good effect. Okay, so how about this here? You know, someone mentioned yesterday that today there's only attention span of 8 seconds. Pradeep, did you say that yesterday? Someone said it yesterday. 8 seconds, that's the attention span. Well, here is a mobile app. It's a free app delivering news articles filtered according to how long they take to read. So users can specify a reading length 2 minutes to 15 minutes and choose a category such as news, entertainment, technology, or cooking, and this UK-created mobile app will then suggest the most popular stories in chosen categories, and after reading, users can like or share the content or save it to read later. So people are busy, people don't have much time. What do you think of the idea of creating a reading news app or a reading, social reading, as it's now called, that basically comes in short little bites? So it's kind of like short bite reading. What do you think? Thumbs up, thumbs down? What was that? Thumbs up, thumbs up, some from there. Nobody in the back, they sleeping? Wake up! Thumbs up or down at the back? Sorry, I didn't hear you. What was that? Oh, they are awake. Thumbs up. Okay, I think this is the thumbs up. Very good. Excellent. Very good. Okay, let's go to the next one. What's this? You know, one of the problems when you get older is something that has happened to me. See that there? There's not much on top, but there's a reason for that. Grass never grows on a busy pathway. However, we joke, but there are many people whose hair is thinning, and it happens with women as well. It's a very common problem. And so this company in the UK call themselves Wigs on Wheels. And what do? It's a mobile hairdressing salon that specializes in treating people who are losing their hair. And this might be because of conditions called alopecia, which is when you lose your hair, or a condition called trichotillomania, where your hair really thins out. And what they do with a mobile app is they go to people's homes across London or across cities in the UK and neighboring areas, offering a discreet and personalized service. And it caters to cancer patients, people that need it. But effectively, customers can try out a wide selection of wigs made from human and synthetic hair with experienced consultants. So on a mobile app, if you feel that you don't want to go into a store where you might perhaps feel embarrassed about doing it, this is something where you call Wigs on Wheels. You can also put on the app the kind of thing you're looking for. They will come to you, they'll give you a new hairpiece, and the next thing you know, you'll be looking like, I don't know who has got really long hair here in India. Trying to think of a well-known musician or film actor that would look like that. But at any rate, that's an interesting one. Now, you know, the whole area of mobile health and what's happening in health is really vital. Big Indian companies like Apollo, who have really been great groundbreakers in terms of health, are more and more and more looking at what mobile and mobile apps can do. And the whole notion of health and wellness and Fitbit and personal telemetry, as it is called, is really creating a lot of interesting opportunities, because in the advertising world, you know how much big pharma companies, pharmaceutical companies, spend on getting their products going. But here, I want to just explain to you why this is so interesting. It's a cell phone microscope. It's called the CellScope Lower. It's a mobile device which scans blood for parasitic worms in around 2 minutes. 2 minutes. Developed by a research team at the University of California, Berkeley, which is just outside San Francisco. The system is a plastic base featuring LED lights, gears, a USB port, and microcontrollers. And to analyze a blood sample, users slide a cell phone into the base of the CellScope and load just a single drop of blood, and a mobile app then communicates with the base via Bluetooth, creating a video by running the sample in front of the cell phone's cameras. And what that does is the footage is then processed, displaying a total count for parasitic worms on the screen. So can you imagine in rural India, where this is a problem in many small villages, the local community nurses or local clinics that can utilize this? Let's say this is sponsored by a pharma company or sponsored by an advertiser. This is an interesting way of looking at parasite control. I mean, who would have thought that the cell phone would be used for looking at parasitic worms? I mean, if you spoke to Sunil Mittal at Bharti Airtel and said, Sunil, I want to use one of your phones to look at parasites. He says, oh, most of my subscribers are parasites. No, he wouldn't say that. He would never say that. Never, ever, ever. No, Sunil would never say that. And as an extension of this, here's another example. This is where you could get blood tested via a cell phone, a dongle. A team of researchers at Columbia University in New York unveiled a cell phone device that detects HIV and syphilis in 15 minutes. Big problem in emerging markets, HIV/AIDS. You know, with HIV/AIDS, you have to check the blood, certain aspects of the blood count to see whether you treat or do not treat for HIV. And here is something where the accessory plugs into a handset's audio jack before a fingerprint blood sample is collected and inserted into a special chip. You can see the chip there in the slide, placed into a cassette and then into the dongle. And once the testing process is complete, blood results are displayed on the screen. And the portable low-cost device is designed specifically for use in developing countries. This whole area of diagnostics, of medical diagnostics, just think of the hundreds of rural towns in India where if you wanted to get a check to see whether someone has got some disease like this, in 15 minutes you can get this, because this also leads to distance diagnosis through phones into the major centers. So let's say, for example, you were somewhere out miles from Hardwar and you wanted to be able to check and see whether someone was ill. You could do this without having to go all the way to Delhi or all the way to Mumbai or any other major city. So, general question to all of you here. This whole notion of medical, mobile, interesting health. Thumbs up or thumbs down? What do you think? Oh, now that's more like it. Everyone really sees some value in that. And that's really, we can see that this is exactly why mobile is doing so well. Now, how many of you were familiar last year here in Kochi? There was this big campaign, the mass kissing event in Kochi. Is anyone aware of it? No, it didn't sound like everyone was aware of it. Yes, everyone is aware of it. So mass kissing, I don't know if anyone was doing it. Any of you, weren't you? Yes, I heard that you were there. Were you one of the mass kissers? Anyway, the reason I mention that is this whole notion of health. Sri Lanka has actually done something, not mass kissing. You don't kiss in Sri Lanka like that. Certainly, well, maybe you do now that there's a new government, now that Rajapaksa is gone. But here's an interesting thing from Sri Lanka. Look at this, just an interesting thing. A hospital group in Sri Lanka, one of the largest healthcare providers in Sri Lanka, created a soap bus ticket. The special ticket rolls were developed using soap-infused paper, allowing commuters to use their disposable bus tickets to wash their hands and protect themselves from germs. That is a cool idea. But it has to be supplemented by advertising, so it could be tied in with a brand, where the brand could say, we are printing these tickets. I mean, can you imagine doing that in a big city like Kochi, shall we say, or let's say you did it in Chennai, but it was an interesting idea that could be an interesting combined advertising opportunity for some kind of major project. Soap-infused bus tickets. Who's actually seen that before? I'd never seen it until I saw that. You did? Did you wash your hands with the ticket?
No, I didn't.
Your hands are still dirty, are they? Oh, good. I'm glad to hear that. No, but you saw it?
Yes.
And it works? Okay, this lady, anyone who wants to know about soap-infused bus tickets, hold your hand up. There we are. She's done it. She's seen it.
We get sheets of soap to buy as well. It's being sold by Clear and Clear. So we get those sheets as well.
Very interesting. So this is different from a soap opera. You can't wash your hands with a soap opera that you see on Colors television. But Raj, maybe that's an idea. You can link it with your soap operas. You never know. Okay, now, fintech and banking and financial is always an interesting area, and banks have a major problem. Banks, first of all, are usually a large corporate structure, slow bureaucracy, things move very slowly, they have a lot of compliance they have to do, and for them to create new clients, especially young clients, which in America they call hipsters, That doesn't mean that you've got hips, but hipsters are the hip. It's like young people that are into high tech and new technology and so forth. How do banks get those clients to join? Well, here's a bank in Poland. In Poland, they called the Idea Bank, and they opened a branch in the city which was styled not as a bank, but was styled as a cafe with baristas. A barista is someone that pulls cappuccino and espresso. And the retail bank's coffee shop and workspace was opened to attract small business and young entrepreneurs away from local cafes, offering free beverages, offices, and bookable meeting rooms. And the space also gives entrepreneurs and small companies access to Wi-Fi, printers, and photocopiers. But this is an unusual take. If you're a bank like ICICI, or let's say, for example, you want to try and find a way of getting into all of those young techies in Bangalore, then maybe this is an interesting way of styling your message. So those of you that represent banks, those ad agencies, this is an interesting way of looking at it. Here's another one, a bank from Denmark called Saxo Bank, and this is for more professional people in money. What they announced was they'd begin live streaming trading ideas to retail clients via Twitter, and their Saxo Strats service, which is the name of it, is available on Twitter and via Periscope. Anyone know what Periscope is? Okay, people know what Periscope is. It's Twitter's... no, it's not Twitter, actually. I don't think it's Twitter, is it, Neeraj? That, correct. So, and it's Twitter's live streaming app, and it includes trading ideas from the bank's resident experts, and the free video service is available to Saxo Bank clients and the trading floor members and followers of its social channels, and it features real-time analyst views and ideas covering commodities, stocks, and global micro. So can you imagine 2 weeks ago when the Chinese stock market just crashed? If you got this from your bank and you got something up to the minute that you could have interaction with specialists in the bank, not a bad idea. And for an ad agency or for creatives in advertising thinking of how do you make a bank sexy? How do you make a bank sexy? Our company has an office in Helsinki that specializes in positive disruption, and they presently are doing a project with the biggest banking group in the Nordics and Scandinavia, and they found that they have to apply as much energy to change the bank inside as changing the bank's message outside. So it's just interesting. Banks and these large structures, insurance companies, even government agencies, government offices, need to be made more sexy. Because in today's world, if you are not hip, and you're not on Twitter, and you're not on social media, you are losing an important segment, not of your growing audience, but even of your existing audience. So, how many of you have ever been to Amsterdam? And how many of you, when you were in Amsterdam, went to see the Heineken beer factory? So Heineken is a really important beer brand around the world, popular even here in India. And Heineken wanted to do something to get people to come to what they call the Heineken experience in Amsterdam. And so they launched an initiative to try and bring new visitors to their museum. Because if you go to the Heineken Museum and then you go back to your home country and you tell your friends, man, did I have a great time? I got a free beer at the Heineken Museum. It spreads the word about the brand. So the company randomly placed custom-created bottles throughout Amsterdam, which featured an integrated GPS system to guide people to the museum. And when picked up, the special bottles would activate and vibrate, and before swiveling and pointing in the direction of where the Heineken Museum experience is in the city, with the caps of the bottles lighting up. So with it had an integrated compass and rotating cap, and people were gradually guided, almost like a GPS, to the Heineken experience. So it's an unusual way for a beer brand to use GPS and mobile to take people to a destination, which might be something for the travel and the hotel industry. So just an interesting way of doing it. And talking of beer, whenever I think of beer, I always think of women. I don't know why. Do you? You don't? You don't think of women at all? I thought I heard someone say earlier on that the women here in Kochi were really beautiful. No, but the reason I mention this is I want to show you an example from Brazil. Here's an example from Brazil. A group of Brazil-based advertising executives launched a beer called Feminist Beer, in Portuguese, Cerveja Feminista. It was created to encourage the advertising industry to discuss how women are portrayed in beer advertising and the lack of female art directors in Brazil. The label featured the symbol for gender equality, and the women who devised the label also founded an activism group in Brazil called 6510. Why was it called 6510? Because 65% of Brazilian women don't feel like they're represented in advertising. Isn't that interesting? 65% do not feel they're represented. I wonder what that number would be here in India. So 65%, and 10% of creatives at advertising agencies in Brazil are women. So 90% of the male executives in advertising are men, and 10% are women. I wonder what that number would be in India. Is it similar? But here was an idea where these women took an initiative upon themselves to create this beer. Okay, looking at fitness, here's an interesting one, K-Fit. This was launched in Malaysia, in Kuala Lumpur, and this provides customers with access to fitness studios, classes, and gyms across a range of Asian cities for a single monthly membership price. So it's a number of different countries across Asia. It's available online and a mobile app, and it's an invite only. So if you get an invite only to K-Fit, it allows people to try out classes, and it was designed to attract people who normally would not commit to going to a gym. So what do you think of that idea? You know, most people think that most of the exercise they get every day is brushing their teeth. Well, of course, that's not healthy for you. You've got to do a lot more than that. But here's an interesting idea about unlimited fitness classes available by monthly membership, but on mobile. Now, here's another interesting one, which is something that we're seeing a lot more of in Europe. A Russian bank decided to introduce a savings account that rewarded customers for taking physical exercise. Now, how does a bank reward customers for taking physical exercise? Well, this is what they did. To take advantage, users sync their Fitbit or their Jawbone or the tracker to the bank, and then they use its activity software to decide how much their exercise is worth to them. That's the customer. And for every step they take, the bank will transfer between 1 and 50 rupees from their existing account into a high-interest savings account that would not otherwise be available. So from a banking point of view, or from an ad agency point of view, where you present the bank with this as something to differentiate or something to give a new product classification, fitness and banking, that could never have been done before there was mobile. So what do you think of the idea of a bank knowing how much physical exercise you take? Thumbs up or thumbs down? Thumbs up? Just a few people. Most people don't want the bank to know what they're doing. I mean, can you imagine when the bank says, last night when you were with your girlfriend, I saw that you did at least 3 miles on the bed. How did the bank get to know that? Well, maybe that's not the case. Okay, here's an interesting one. What was that? They know all the time. That's true. In Russia, that's exactly the case. Unfortunately, that is true. That's right. Putin, who's just, believe it or not, he just banned Wikipedia in Russia. Banned Wikipedia. I mean, that's so ridiculous. Jimmy Wales, the guy who invented Wikipedia, is a lovely guy. His whole thing about Wikipedia, really, his whole thing is really about sabka saath, sabka vikas. That's what Wikipedia is. Okay, so on Pay, here's an interesting one. It's available to download. It allows people in Vietnam, this is from Vietnam, to top up their cell phones with prepaid credits, and users are notified when their balance is low or a promotional offer is available, and it streamlines top-up process, so this is an interesting process. So we're running out of time. Let me just quickly go through a couple of interesting ones here. I've just got a couple more slides. Here's one that it's called Halal Minds, and this is a free app helping Muslims find and identify halal products on sale in Japan. Users can scan barcodes when shopping to determine whether groceries are halal or not, with the app searching a database of around 500,000 products. Interesting for the Muslim community that really wants to do something cool. Let me just have a look. We'll choose a last couple of good closes for you. Yeah, this is great, and I think for India this could be good. This is called Phone Address. It's an app that enables people to use their cell phone as an address. It uses your geolocation. So let's say I'm here in Kochi, but I live in Mumbai, and I want a pizza delivered to me outside the Meridian Hotel. I order a pizza from Domino's, and it can deliver the pizza to where I am, not to what my address is. Takes your GPS, finds out where you are, delivers the food. That is a good idea which might work in India. Okay, so let's just finish off here. Just show you one last two slides here. This is an interesting idea from Argentina. I know that there was recently a big campaign in India to plant millions of trees, and in fact, Swami, who was on here this morning, he planted many millions of trees. But here's something in Argentina that I think is an idea that could work incredibly well in India. An Argentinian children's book publisher created a tree book tree, a book that could be planted after it was read. Copies of the book were printed in biodegradable ink on acid-free paper with embedded jacaranda seeds and sent to local schools and government officials and bookstores, and the children were encouraged to plant the book after reading the book to discover that trees and children could grow together. Now that is a cool idea. Okay, so just to finish off, I just thought I'd finish off with something that I think might work in Bollywood, with Bollywood dancing, particularly if you can get people on a mass basis to do something. This is a very, very successful app in China. 50,000 downloads within the first couple of weeks. It's called Public Dance Classics, and it's an app inspired by public dancing, an activity which has become a national phenomenon in China. The free mobile app enables anyone to learn the most popular dances, which are performed regularly by groups of older ladies in squares and public places. There are instructional videos for 30 dances and 12 government-approved routines. In China, government-approved dance routines. Okay, now imagine this for closing. Imagine in the middle of Mumbai, if you could get 1,000 people doing Bollywood dancing from a Shah Rukh Khan movie, and that you got on an app, and you got everyone to crowdsource. This would be something fantastic. Who of you here in this audience will set something up like that and create a record in Kochi or create a record in India for having the most number of people publicly doing Bollywood dancing? Anyone want to do it? Who? That's a good advertising man. He's got it in his blood. So, ladies and gentlemen, let me ask you one final question. Are you going to be a laggard, or are you going to effectively create your advertising jugaad? Thank you.